Hi, I'm Joanna Davidson. I'm an anthropologist, and I know that what unites all the presenters here today is that we're Africanists. But I often feel that claiming to be an Africanist, for me, is a bit presumptuous, a bit of an exaggeration. I've traveled widely around the continent. I've read voraciously across many disciplines that engage its many regions. I even teach courses like Peoples and Cultures of Africa. But my primary research has really, I'm going the other direction, has really focused in one specific place on the coast of West Africa, Guinea-Bissau, and it's a very small country. You can see all the way up there. I don't know if this has a clicker, but that's Guinea-Bissau, bordered by Senegal and the Republic of Guinea on either side. It's Lusophone. It is not representative necessarily of a lot of what the diversity is, of course, on the continent. I've lived there for extended periods of time. I continue to return when I can, usually for about a month at a time. And my presentation, in terms of putting this up front, is that really anthropology, one of the things that distinguishes it is that we favor depth over breadth. And our hunch is that if we kind of descend into detail and what Clifford Geertz has called the terrifying complexity of long-term ethnographic research, we might have something to say more generally that broadens all of our horizons of human possibility and furthers our efforts to, as Ruth Benedict put it, make the world safe for human differences. And nowhere is this more important, I think, to do than in Africa. So I would also add that because ethnographic research is inextricably intertwined with genuine relationships that we develop with our interlocutors, our neighbors, our friends in the course of fieldwork, sometimes these verge much closer to kinship ties, I've prioritized nurturing these relationships on their own terms and for their own sake. So the sustained commitment to a particular place and the people who populate it has really been my touchstone, a kind of non-instrumentalized sociality where the process itself is the point, and the academic results are often accidental byproducts, honestly. The interesting thing is, though, that it's these very bonds, the depth and the sincerity of them, that I think makes for better ethnographic research. So I'm providing these kind of epistemological and methodological comments to frame what I'll now quickly share as the more often than not unexpected, sometimes quite serendipitous academic outputs of my ethnographic engagements in Guinea-Bissau. My first book, Sacred Rice, detailed how Jola villagers in Guinea-Bissau were responding to environmental pressures that threatened to erode not only their livelihoods, but their core moral, religious, and political institutions. This was absolutely not what I expected to write about. When I began living there, though, in the rice-growing, predominantly Jola villages in Guinea-Bissau, and working with my adoptive family and neighbors in forests and paddies, and listening to and increasingly participating in conversations, they almost always turned towards their concerns about the increasing impossibility of maintaining a form of livelihood, rice cultivation, in the face of climate change. So I could not write about this because it was what my interlocutors wanted to talk about. So in Sacred Rice, I explore these dynamics that many Jola villagers perceive as an existential threat on both individual and collective levels. The very thing that has long defined them as a people hinges on rice production and consumption and reverence. And I try to do justice to their experience of this by writing about it through the intimacy and the intricacy of three life histories: a father, a mother, and their almost grown daughter. Again, I favored depth and nuance to gain insight into these often overwhelming global transformative processes. And I've tried to humanize what often gets lost in statistics and kind of academic abstraction. So my work since, and I'll go very quickly through this, has kept pace with how these challenges have continued to unfold. Through my ongoing conversations with residents in Guinea-Bissau, they've led me to explore several shifts in women's lives, particularly around marriage and increasing widowhood. In The Problem of Widows, I look very closely at why, despite their increasing presence across Jola villages, they are neither named, people that you and I would call widows, nor seen, and perhaps that is exactly the way they themselves prefer it. I've also co-edited two volumes that you'll see here, one on opting out, why women are kind of eschewing marriage around the world, and one that I just signed the contract with today on Ohio University Press, a co-edited volume with a historian on widowhood, changes and experiences across Africa. So what's next? Very quickly. My current project is a book of braided essays on marriage, naming, and death. And in particular, it takes up the topic of naming, so the absence of names for certain social categories like widows, but also the proliferation of names, personal names, place names, song names, whistle names, names in funeral songs that reverberate across the Jola soundscape. And my focus on these topics, once again, emerged from the wellsprings of these sustained relationships, deepening dialogues in Guinea-Bissau, but my efforts to understand them have really pushed me beyond the conventions of anthropological argumentation, and I'm increasingly turning towards literature and philosophy and the arts to inform my writing. And I look forward to elaborating on all of this with you over drinks. Thank you.